The question is, did Allstate get a whole bunch of security to go with that office?
That's true. Downtown Chicago.
It's, I think there's a sentiment right now that the big cities are dead, and I don't necessarily agree.
Yeah.
I think you feel the same way.
100%.
It's just there is a crime issue that's going on right now, but at some point that will get resolved. And there's always going to be an attraction to the big cities. Um, I I know people in Chicago right now. I know someone that was a consultant for one of the big companies that they chose to move out to the suburbs because they no longer felt safe downtown.
Mhm.
And then I have another friend's a doctor that they like big cities. And for them, there's only three choices in the US anyways, and that was basically LA, Chicago, and New York. Now they grew up in New York and the crime's so bad there, they don't want to go back home. They tried LA, which they found to be even worse with the crime and homelessness. And they thought that, okay, Chicago, clean city, beautiful waterfront, it's got the restaurant scene, yeah, everything they wanted. And the problem is now they live in the Gold Coast. There was a rapper murdered right outside their apartment. There was another shooting. That's Gold Coast. Like, we know what the Gold Coast is. That stuff doesn't happen in the Gold Coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now they're thinking there's nowhere for me to go in the United States. So they're looking at like Switzerland. So there's that issue. And I think it's probably going to take a few years to resolve that. So there will be turbulence in the short term until that's figured out. When that's all said and done, and you remove that from the equation, you have to look at what else is going on. And that's, you keep seeing, I think McDonald's bought a big space near Chicago, right? In the
I
recent,
don't know. Yeah, maybe.
last year or so. Don't quote me on that, but I thought they were moving closer to the city or in the city. You got Allstate, and then you look around the other parts of the world, you got Facebook and Google and Apple building these massive campuses.
Mhm.
Does it feel like they want to really embrace this work from home concept?
I don't think so.
And I think that's, you gotta look at that bigger trend, because we know, at Daggerfinn, anyways, how PR works and how the media works, and then when they get a hold of a narrative, they push it. So if a journalist is asking for reasons why you should work from home, or you saw one time, like, is work from home good? And if you send it in, they won't publish it if you say it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
They push this narrative, but when you start talking to the executives, it's been very difficult running business this way for 2 years. And I think as you continue to see these massive headquarters built, that's a sign that companies are saying, we know what we need to survive. And that is people in the office, maybe just flex, but at least in the office. If we plan on surviving and staying competitive in the next 10 years. And I don't know about you personally, Kane. The people I know, like the Fortune 500s in the tech world, their life has not been easy the last 2 years.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I'll hear them talk about their struggles, and I'll purposely send them articles where it's like from New York Times or Bloomberg. It's people are more productive from home, and I'll send them the link. I just
Yeah.
to rile them up. Yeah, I'm a good friend, and I don't know anybody in the real world that's managing real people that agrees with that right now. Now they've gotten by, but as far as output goes, and more importantly, the quality of work has not been anywhere near the same as when everybody was in the office.
Yeah.
And I think Apple knows that. Facebook knows that. And Google knows that, to stay competitive, especially in the tech world. Do you see Tesla and SpaceX working from home?
Yeah. Try and program the rocket from home.
I'm sure somebody has. It's like, let's give the rocket, an extra 2,000 pounds of boost at 100 feet. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that collaboration, and another thing that no one wants to talk about, if everyone was just a self-motivated self-starter, held themselves accountable, they wouldn't even be working for anybody else. They'd work for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where I go back to, it's not just about the output, it's also the quality of the work and are things getting done on time. We talked about it on another episode. I was shopping around to move one of my companies, which again I run millions of dollars through for my primary bank right now. But I'm talking to banks that won't respond, and they'll make excuses like, well, I'm working from home today, so I didn't get your call. And I'm like, well, get back in the office then. Because I couldn't get a hold, I can't get a hold of my banker during banker's hours. And now this is causing harm to the company. So now I'm choosing a bank that's available 9 to 5, or I can text my banker at 8 o'clock at night if I want to. And that's the bank I decided to move to. And I think we're starting to see this trickle down effect of poor customer service, people working from home and not getting the same level of work done. Now, Kane, there's always that like 20% of people that crush it from home. It doesn't matter if they're in the office, in an RV, in the Grand Canyon, they're at home, they're up early, they're on time, they knock their work out. It doesn't matter where they are, Kane. Give them a Wi-Fi connection and they kill it. It's the other 80% that companies usually struggle with.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
But to me, my overarching thought is that we lean so heavily on technology to make this work since the start of the pandemic, right? Like Zoom, Slack, and all this stuff. But we've had Zoom, Slack. Before Slack, it was Skype and all these things for years, and we never talked about, everybody transitioning to flex or hybrid or remote. And the reason I think that is because technology is still it's still a complement to like our productivity versus an actual substitute for the in-office experience, right? Until technology reaches a point where it's a true substitute, then I think there will always be a pull for the ambitious, for executives, people that manage, work and manage production, to go to a place where you can congregate with other people, right? Because you need to be able to exchange ideas and exchange and find talent, and all those things happen more efficiently when people are grouped together. That's why cities are cities, right? Like the best talent typically is drawn to cities for those reasons, because they go and then chase the other talent that's been built up there already. So I don't think that goes away. I think we've talked about this already, but we as human beings like to exaggerate, like to overblow things that happen in the short term and think of them as long-term impacts. Like, oh, my stock portfolio is down 15% a day. The world is falling apart. I got to sell everything. Which, is that idea of extrapolating a short-term impact and making it a long-term thing. I think that it's a nice to have right now to be able to work from home and do all these things. But it's inevitable, I think, that human nature takes us back to a place where we congregate in workplaces and offices and cities. Because you mentioned crime, and I never want to discount somebody's like how they're affected by that, because it's a real thing. And so just putting that aside for a second, just the impacts of work, I think you're going to see over time a pushback. And then we brought this up earlier, but you're seeing that sentiment even with banks. I mean, Jamie Dimon made an announcement recently that he wants people back in the office, and he's tied it to vaccines, of course, but the sentiment is there where unless you're able to work in the office, then they a company like that doesn't want you as part of their organization. Because I think it goes back to that idea of the efficiency of sharing ideas and the efficiency of finding talent and swapping goods and things like that. So a bit long-winded there, but I do think that this is all nice for now, and it's nice for a lot of people to not have to commute. I get it. But we're going to get back to a world where profits matter, and there's a story recently where the banks have had to pull profits down because they've had to compensate people so much to keep them around. Well, there's going to be an expectation of a return on that increased compensation, and the only way that you're going to do that, I think, is to bring up productivity, like you said. And I think the best way you do that is in person.
I'm assuming that's where we're going to go back to. I mean, the flex schedule's nice. I mean, I think it's different when you're, and some of the advice over at Employment Boost, they would give on the career consulting side, where if you're in your 20s, you're trying to build a career, you get your butt in the office and just go. When life's more complicated and you got kids, it is nice to say, the kids don't have school today, I would like to work from home. There is benefits to the work from home. I don't know why it's got to be one or the other. The flex schedule seems like it could work in the long run. But it's your point about technology. I think we're always looking for technology to be a replacement, not an enhancement. And there's no video call that will ever be a replacement for sitting across a table from somebody. Ever. It's just one of those things that the energy and the vibe, it's never going to be the same. You saw that with books. We couldn't say ebooks were nice because if I wanted to go on a vacation, I'm going to Europe, and there's 10 books I wanted to read on this, long vacation. You don't want to carry 10 books with you. So the e-reader would be nice. Or even on your iPhone, right? I can pull the book up. It's to kind of add to or augment life, not replace it, because nothing still feels as good to me as just reading a regular paperback or hardcover book. The electric cars are cool. I just saw an electric Hummer this morning. I'm like, I might put a pre-order in for one, but it's not going to replace the sound of my supercharged engine in my race car going around the track. It's just two different things and two different experiences. We're always looking for technology to just replace everything. And Kane, you can talk in, Slack all day and do video conferences, but it'll never be a replacement for being in the office.
Oh, 100%. The number of times where it's taken 15, 20 minutes to explain a concept to somebody over Slack or email, and it would have taken 3 minutes, 2 minutes in person or over the phone.
I mean, have you ever taken an online class?
In a way, yeah.
And you've obviously taken in-person classes.
Yeah.
Which one do you think nets you better results?
Yeah, no doubt. The in-person experience is different.
I mean, there's 20 million, things that we go. Companies know this, and the company has to go, this is what we need to do to stay competitive and survive. And I think what Jamie Dimon's doing is saying, we don't want the people that want to work from home, that don't really want to be part of the culture, that just they want to do these very transactional jobs and not be a part of the place. He's saying, I want you here because you want to be here. You want to get up in the morning, get dressed, come to the office, and add to the conversation and help build this place. And I think he wants to attract that type of talent. And I think that's what Apple does, and Facebook and Tesla. They're getting those types of people. Otherwise, there's so much competition in this world. How do you stay alive?
Yeah, it's true.
So I think everyone thinks that everyone's going to work from home forever. Me personally, Kane, I don't want to. I can't imagine sleeping in my house for 8 hours, working in my house for 10 hours, and then your normal living, you're in your house for how many more hours? I don't want to spend my whole life in this box.
Yeah.
I value being around people too much, the conversations, the energy, just a change of atmosphere. I do a little bit of work in the music industry. I couldn't imagine sitting at my kitchen table and doing this stuff. There's a reason why you go to the studio. There's an atmosphere and there's a vibe and there's things going on and there's this collaboration. Have you ever tried, I mean, you never done it maybe, but tried creating a song over a video conference and see how that works?
You don't want me creating no songs.
Yeah, Kane, it's miserable because I worked on a project when COVID first started like that, and I've not done it since. So
Yeah.
You just can't replace that.
Yeah.
And it's we're saying that it can be replaced because that's what we want. We want to work from home. We're saying it can be done. And then if the companies say, well, get back in the office, then the common thing on LinkedIn is companies got to stop, they got to let go. It's all about control and telling people what to do. It's like, no, they know that this is what they need to survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see the tail end of this where it's starting to affect companies, and we're seeing these earnings misses. We're seeing companies starting to hurt a little bit because it couldn't go on forever.
Mm.
So Allstate didn't buy this because they were bored. They know what they know what they're going to need to do to make sure they keep giving us those terrible commercials a decade from now.
Indeed.
Anyways, that's all I got.
Sounds good.
I'll catch you.